What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for Power Book number 2. I don't know why this show is titled that, but whatever. This is season 1, episode 9, titled Monster. Monster. You know, when I think of monster, I think of the song with Kanye West, Jay-Z, all of them. You know, Nicki Minaj verse 50K for a verse, no album out. Yeah, my money's so tall that my Barbie's gotta climb it hotter than the Middle Eastern climate. Not gonna give y'all the whole snippet, but y'all know the rest. So you guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump into this episode review of Power Book 2, Ghost. All right, you guys, so you know how I do. We're gonna start up with the shit that annoyed me the most. And you guys know who that is. It is Carrie, it is Jabari, and it is Zeke. So you guys remember in the last week's episode that Zeke went over to Carrie's house after, Lil Guap them, almost not, shot at his fucking kneecaps. So Carrie wakes up to him. She's looking at those, bruises on his body. So when he wakes up, she asks him about the bruises. He doesn't really want to tell her anything about the bruises, but she keeps, questioning him about the bruises. We should go to the cops, this and this and that. So he does finally tell her that, he knew, the guys that did it were from the neighborhood, and, he told them, they were part of the GTG gang. So like I said, she wants to call the cops. And I'm like, girl, if he just told you a gang jumped him, beat him up, why would he go to the police? I'm pretty sure you know how. Never mind. Let's go. Let's just leave it at that. So Carrie got a text message, and it was her boss texting her. So then, we see Carrie. She's at school. So there's another lady there. It's the white professor. It's Jabari, and it's her. So they're talking about this. You guys remember in last week's episode when Kane sent one of the GTG boys to kill Tariq, but instead Tariq and 2-Bit got the jump, got him and drowned him in the pool. So they're talking about this, and I kept looking at this guy. I'm like, damn, the detective that was there. I'm like, he looks so familiar. Then I was like, he looks familiar. I could never put my finger on who he was. And then I was like, oh shit, Laz Alonso. So they're telling him that, they know he's a part of the GTG because he had GTG tattooed on his hand. And, actually before that, I think he named what the gang is. I forgot what the gang's name is. It's, Get That Guap or something like that. I think that's the name of the gang. So then, when he said what GTG stands for, Carrie said GTG. And, Jabari and the detective were like, do you know anything about that? She was like, no. And then we also find out that Carrie is also a former prosecutor. I'm like, oh, you went from a prosecutor to a professor who's sleeping with her student. Cool. All right. So the cop, now he wants to talk to the students, but more specifically, he wants to talk to the students who he thinks would be in affiliation with GTG. And Jabari and Carrie are like, have you learned anything from what's happened this past summer? And I was wondering if they were talking in real life or if they were talking in fictional world, but I think they were actually talking in real life because later in the episode, Ben Crump's name was mentioned. So I'm like, they might be talking about, the stuff that actually happened this summer with, the marches for George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. So, Carrie said that, she'll talk to the students and, she'll talk to the students, see what they know, and then come back to them, but she won't implicate the students. And Jabari, he had to jump and say, well, I'll do it too. I'm just like, God damn, can both of y'all go? At this point, I just want both of them gone. So we later see Carrie. So Carrie is looking at some photos of Zeke. Now she does see a photo. It was him. I guess this was signing day for him because it was Monet, it was Drew, it was, I don't know if I saw Kane in that picture, but I'm pretty sure it was. But it was Monet, it was Drew, it was Diana, and I'm pretty sure it was Kane, and I'm pretty sure it was a coach in there. So she flipped the photo over, and on the back of the photo, it had his guardians on there, and Monet's name was on there, and Lorenzo's name was on there. So Carrie decides that she's gonna go and do a Google search on Lorenzo. She does one, and then she does another search with Lorenzo and GTG, and she finds out, some of the reasons why. She finds out why Lorenzo is in jail. So then we see, so Jabari also comes into her office, and they're talking. So Jabari notices the photo of Zeke on the desk, and I don't know why Jabari didn't put two and two together at that point, but whatever. He's so adamant that she's sleeping with Tariq, but it's right in your face who she's actually sleeping with. I mean, ESPN, and you should have been able to put two and two together. ESPN, you got this photo of Zeke. Oh, that's the little nigga you fucking. But he didn't. But he notices, and she asked him, if he's found any shit. My bad, y'all. Dropped my phone. So, he asked her if she found anything. One of them asked. She asked him if he notices anything. He says no. So then we later see Carrie. So she's questioning Zeke about, GTG, Lorenzo, Monet. I don't really think Zeke knows that much about the business, but she's questioning him, and she says Lorenzo's in the gang. He was like, my uncle was not in the gang. And then she starts mentioning what she found. I'm like, girl, you digging? You don't realize you might be digging yourself a grave. But go on here, sis, and keep digging. So she's telling him that he should come forward, and she can do it for him. That way he can keep his distance. I'm like, girl, keep on digging that hole. Keep on digging that hole. So then we see Zeke. So Zeke is talking to Monet. He's questioning Monet about everything. So she did tell him that yes, Kane is the one who sent the GTG, over to Stansfield, and they, he got killed, and they came at you in retaliation. So, she just tells him to lay low. He's like, I can't lay low because there's a whole investigation going on. So she says, he needs to tell, he tells her that, he feels like he needs to tell the cops what's going on. And Monet was like, you ain't telling the cops shit. So then Diana comes in, and, she speaks to, to Zeke. Now, granted, Monet told him to stay the night. So Diana, she was like, what's going on? So, Monet asked her, so how much do you know about, his teacher, Milgram? She was like, nothing really. Then she thought about it. She's like, you know what? I did see something in Tariq's backpack, but I thought it was about Tariq, but now I'm starting to think it's about Zeke. So then we see Carrie. So Carrie is, with, Jabari and, the detective. And she's texting, Zeke to, get in contact with her. So then Carrie starts to tell, what happened with Zeke when him and, the other teammates went to the club and he got jumped. I'm like, girl, he didn't give you the okay to say nothing, but here you are running your mouth. So then we see Carrie goes back to her office, and who is in her office? Monet is in her office. Monet basically called Carrie on her shit, like, girl, you fucking my nephew. Now what you need to do is mind your motherfucking business, because if anything comes out and people come to me, I'm gonna tell them exactly what I know about you. So it's best that you do what? Keep your motherfucking mouth closed, bitch. I'm like, thank you. Somebody finally put her on the plate. It's just, I don't like Milgram. I don't like Carrie. Well, Carrie and Milgram are the same person. I don't like Carrie. I don't like Jabari. And I don't like Zeke. But let's move on, you guys. All right, guys. Next, let's move over to Tariq. So we see Tariq in the episode. So Tariq, he wakes up because he got a text message from 2Bit. And 2Bit was like, nigga, I want my money, 50K. 50K for a personal album out. So yeah, he wanted his 50K. So Tariq, goes into his little stash and takes some money out. So then he calls Davis. He tells Davis, like, so hypothetically, let's say I'm not able to make my payment this week. What will happen then? And Davis like, okay, well, what I'll tell you is pay me next week. But this week, I'm not gonna be able to, I'm gonna have to cancel, my expert witness that I have. And Tariq was like, nah, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. So when Tariq hangs up the phone, Paula's with Davis. And Paula asks him, why did you just lie about an expert witness? We don't have one. He says, because Tariq is lying to me about why he can't give me my money. And she's like, well, if Tariq is lying, why don't we try to figure out why Tariq is lying? I'm like, exactly. But Davis is a con in no uncertain terms. So then Tariq calls Tasha. And, actually Tasha called Tariq. She's checking on Tariq to make sure that, the Tejadas hadn't come after him. And he tells her, me and Monet, we worked that situation out. And she was like, worked it out? She tried to kill you. He was like, no, it wasn't her that tried to kill me. It was Kane. She was like, well, she could have sent Kane to kill you. He says, nah, because Monet actually, okayed it. If I need to take care of myself when it comes to Kane, she cool with it. So Tasha basically tells Tariq, like, Tariq, whatever you doing out there, you need to slow that shit down. So then, we see Tasha, she's in her cell. And the guard, I don't know what her name is. I'm gonna call her Baby D. So Baby D comes in, and they're doing a search of the cells to make sure that there's no contraband in there. I'm like, oh shit, Tasha got that cell phone, so they're gonna find the phone. And I'm gonna actually talk about the cell phone a little bit deeper in just a little bit. So Tasha is freaking out, and then the guard that put the phone up under Tasha's, in Tasha's cell in the first place, he came there, he asked Tasha for it. She was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm the one that put it in there. So she was like, so you work for the Tejadas? He was like, just give me the shit. And she was like, okay, but burn me another one. And he was like, got it. So then we see Tasha. So she's talking to Davis and she's talking to Paula. And she wants to be moved, but Davis is telling her, no, we're not gonna move you. What you gotta do for right now is get along with the guard as best as you can. So then Tasha asks Davis about the expert witness. She wants to know who it is. Now Paula was about to, chime in and say something, but Davis stopped her and shut her down. So, we then later see Tasha. So she calls Paula back down and she's asking Paula, she was like, Paula, you ain't never lied to me, so why are you lying to me now? So then basically Tasha clocked the fact that, Paula is sleeping with Davis. Davis is married. Davis ain't leaving his wife for her. Kind of the same situation with, her and Ghost. Although Ghost would have left her for Angela. But whatever. So again, Tasha wants to know who the expert witness is. And, she says, well, it's the Dr. Epiphany Turner. And Tasha's like, she ain't no damn doctor. She a stripper. So then, Paula goes on her phone and she starts to, look and see who's calling her to the stand. So Paula tells her that it is not Davis that's calling her to the stand. It's actually Sachs that's calling her to the stand. So then Tasha tells her, to talk to Tariq, tell him to, look out for her the same way he looked out for Slim. And, she's asking questions. I'm like, girl, you don't want to know the answer to them questions. Tariq killed Slim because of what happened with Raina. So basically, in a nutshell, Tasha is telling Tariq, do what you did to Slim. Take this bitch out. So then we see Paula talking to Tariq, and she gives Tariq the message, basically to take Epiphany out. So, Tariq tells, Paula, like, tell my mama, don't worry about it. So then later in the episode, Tasha calls him to see if the work was done. And she also tells him that, Sachs is going to subpoena him to the stand. And we'll discuss that in just a little bit, why Davis is subpoenaing him. Well, Sachs, sorry. So the one thing that I will say about Power Book 2 that I do really enjoy is the fact that when they're in class and, whatever story they're reading, they tie that story into the episode. So in this episode, Tariq shows up to class late as usual, and Jabari is there, so no Milgram and no the other white professor. So they're reading Frankenstein, and they're talking about the racial undertones that are in the book, which I actually never really put that together, that those racial undertones. But when you think about it, it is a racial undertone. You can equate Frankenstein to an African American person or a person of color. People, Frankenstein was a monster, but he was a monster because of what, he was built, and it was how he was treated. But Frankenstein is not what people, just because of what they saw on the outside of Frankenstein, is not what's on the inside of Frankenstein. And it could be the same said about black people, Hispanics, disenfranchised people of color. You can attribute that to the way people perceive black men, black women. I mean, we see it all the time. Like, look at these unjust killings, which I don't. Look at these unjust killings of, excuse me, y'all, I didn't mean to burp in your face. But look at these unjust killings of, black and brown people by the cops. People portray black men as, especially if it's a black man from the hood, they portray him as, violent, the angry black man and all that kind of stuff. But whereas you have a white counterpart, like, I'm gonna give a perfect example. Like, I think this just happened on Christmas Day, where someone set a bomb on a trailer and the shit blew up. But I'm actually gonna give a better example. That guy, that's the guy that's actually, I'm gonna give us some better examples. Columbine, Virginia Tech, the Pulse nightclub out there in Florida, the church shooting, the Sandy Hook shooting, the guy that shot up the theater when they had that, the Batman movie. The list can go on. Those people, which are all white, by the way, they get treated differently than a black person, say, like Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, which was a child, Sandra Bland, who else? Like, the list, it's a lot of them, but the list can go on. It's just a stark comparison. The black people that I named, unarmed, hadn't hurt anyone. The white people that I just named, mass shootings, kill people. Like, I'm gonna give a prime example of one that it always pisses me off to this day. Dylan Roof. He killed people. Y'all took him in peacefully. I don't know how you take somebody in that just killed people, and then you take him to get something to eat. But in black people, you kill them. It just makes no sense to me. So, Bruchandria, she also mentioned in class about, how this is similar, how the book is similar to what they're wanting to do now at the school with that body that was in the pool. They only want to question the black and brown people, but the white people, leave them alone. They have nothing to do with that, which is not always the case. Not always the case. If they knew that there was drugs in the school, then it would be a different story. So, and then Lauren also talks about, the people that are in jail, that they deserve to be there. Lauren, girl, that is not the case. There are so many black and brown people that are in jail for crimes either that they did not commit or stupid, small offenses such as drugs and stuff like that. I don't agree with the prison system. I don't agree with it completely. If someone murders someone, if someone rapes someone, stuff, rape, murder, theft, stuff like that, yes. But the small petty shit, like even petty theft, I don't even agree with that. But the stuff that people, yes, that they should be in there for, I agree with. But then, most times there are people in prison who, are wrongfully convicted. We see that quite often. So Lauren feels that people should, and Tariq was like, so you saying my mama should be in prison? And she was like, no. So after class, Lauren apologizes to Tariq for her comments. And Tariq was like, you said what you needed to say, and it is what it is. So then we see Tariq and Brayden. So Brayden comes back into the room. He's still pissed off at Tariq, however. And Tariq shows him that he has, some coke that he got from Monet, which I'll discuss that in a little bit. And they need to move it, but they're not quite sure how to do it because the block is hot right about now. So Braden says, well, why don't you reach out to Effie? And Tariq was like, at this point, I don't think Effie's going to reach out to me. So Braden was like, okay, how about, I set it up and we both go and meet Effie at Yale. So that way she can, unload it over there. So, we see Tariq and Braden, so they're going to see Effie. And as they're walking, they're talking about what happened with, Tariq does tell him that, what's the girl's name? Niecy. What is her name? Riley. So he tells her that Riley didn't try to sleep with him, but she did spike his drink. And, he told her that, she was snooping through his phone for her uncle, and he shows him a picture of Sax. So then we see Tariq, they meet up with Effie. And, Tariq apologizes to Effie for Parents Weekend, and he tells her that his mom wants him to do something that, he doesn't necessarily want to do. And this is when the story, the book came back into play because, she told them they're both monsters. Whatever. So then we later see Tariq. So Tariq was going to go do what Tasha said, to kill Effie. Epiphany, not Effie. So he goes over there. And she tells him, like, your lawyer came over here with Sax. He was like, wait, Davis came? She was like, yeah. He said you knew everything about this. So she was confused. But, as he was, he was looking around, he noticed her son's stuff. And he asked her where was her son at. And she said, oh, he's with his daddy. So then, she was like, honestly, I don't want to do this. If I had money, I would just run. So then Tariq takes out the money, and I'm like, damn, you finna give her all the money that you just got from Effie for that coke? I don't know if you want to do that, buddy. But let's move on, you guys. All right, guys, let's talk about Sax real quick. So we see Sax, and he's talking to Steven, and, they're talking about, Tasha herself. When they did the sweep, it was clean. But that's like, well, he had information that she, had a burner phone in there. So basically, at this point, Steven is upset with him, and he feels that Sax just played into Davis's hand. So Sax was like, no, I got this taken care of. So Sax, he leaves the office, and Steven calls for Special Agent Pope. Don't know who that is at this point. So then we see Sax and Davis. So they go and they're looking for Epiphany, who's staying at a really nice house. So she's saying that this is a dude that she messes with, but when he's out of town with his wife, she stays there. So then we see that someone is following Davis and Sax, and they're taking pictures. So I was like, okay, this must be the guy that Steven is working with. So they tell her basically that they will help her with the charges that she has if she gets on the stand and, talks about Tasha. They'll tell her everything to say. This is the same situation that they had last week with 2-Bit, or 2 weeks ago, whenever they talked to 2-Bit. So then we see Steven. So he comes into Sax's office with those photos, and Steven has put everything together. He knows what Sax is up to today. He wants to name Tariq in this operation. He's trying to clear Tasha. But Steven is like, I want you to get Tasha. And now I also want you to get Davis. I'm like, oh shit. So then we see them in court. So they are in court waiting on Epiphany, who is a no-show at this point. So Sax calls for a recess, so he goes to the bathroom, and Davis falls in behind him. And Sax asks Davis, like, why did you send Paula to talk to Tasha? Davis was like, I didn't do that. So Sax is like, well, I have a log, and it shows that she was there. So then Sax shows him the photos of, him and Davis at talking to Epiphany. And David was like, that ain't shit. He's like, but you would lose a lot. No one would ever want to hire you after me putting this shit out. So then, they go back into the courtroom, and, Davis is talking to Paula. He comes clean about everything that he found. I'm like, damn, you should have been honest with her from the jump. So now he wants her help because he feels that Sax has screwed him over. And Paula was like, fuck that. I ain't helping you. So she dips out. So then, the judge comes in, and Sax issues a subpoena for Tariq. So then we see Paula. So she talks to Tariq, and she gives Tariq, the court summons. And she says that Davis at this point can't represent him because of everything that he knows. She shows him the video of Tariq at the grave, and he's like, how did you get that? She says Davis got it because Sachs recorded it and sent it to him. So then we end the episode, Tariq. So he has called Tamika with her good wig, and so Tamika is now his lawyer. So she asks him, Tariq, be honest with me. Did you kill your father? He says, I did. And he says, when Sachs calls him to the stand, I'm going to tell him everything that happened. I'm like, I don't know if you want to do that, little homie. I don't know if you want to do that. But let's move on, you guys, and wrap the episode up. All right, you guys, and let's move on to Drew then. So we see Drew. So Drew was supposed to be doing a drop for Monet. And Monet is questioning him like, what's up? And he says, Ma, we can't do this with, with just Al and his boys. She says, well, I got you and Diana. He says, we need Kane. So I don't speak that name. So then Tariq comes in and, she tells him to lock the door behind him. And she tells Drew to get the product. So Tariq, Drew unloads the product, which was the coke. And he was like, well, what's going on? Like, this ain't enough. This ain't it. She was like, right now I'm having some issues with the supplier. And, he's asking questions about his guy that they killed. So Tariq's like, okay, so what you want me to do is, he actually tells her, like, Stansfield is really hot right now. She says, well, ain't nobody really looking into the, course correct, are they? So, nope, they ain't looking into it. So then we see Drew. So Drew went to Kane. And he's asking Kane, like, why did he take the corner boys? He tells her, he says that, Kane says, since Monet is rocking with Tariq, that he took over the streets. I'm like, damn, this nigga is a complete hothead. So Drew tells him that Rico is coming in a few days, and like, what would Rico think? What would he think? And Drew was like, Kane was like, he think that it's competition with your mama, nigga. So Kane tries to get Drew to come and be on his team, and Drew was like, no. And then he notices little Womp is still alive. He's like, why that nigga still breathing? And Kane was like, he's loyal. You think he's loyal? I don't believe that nigga loyal to you. So then, we see Drew. So Drew is telling Monet and Diana what happened. And they said, so what did you do? He said, I didn't do nothing. And he's like, what was I supposed to do? Monet was like, shoot out. Monet was like, shoot all them niggas up. So then, Diana is, once Drew leaves, Diana is talking to Monet. And she's telling Monet, like, what's going to happen? We ain't got no dealers. So Monet says, as long as Tariq moves his bricks, what they'll do is they take the product off the streets and Rico won't know shit. I'm like, okay, Monet, if you say so. So then we see Little Guap. So Little Guap comes to Kane. He got the product and Kane starts opening this shit like, wait a minute, this Monet shit, so you stealing from my mama, nigga? So he get upset and, Lil Guap tells Kane, like, Rico is looking for a new distro and your mama is ass out at this point. So then, we see them. I don't know who that was riding around in the cars. I don't know if that was Rico and his people. I couldn't really see because the scene was really dark. I thought it was Kane at one point, but I don't know. So then we see Tariq. So Tariq goes to Monet. He tells Monet, like, hey, Monet, like, I used the money that I got from the coke to help my mama. And Monet pulled a gun on Tariq, and Drew and Diana are begging and pleading with her. Now, mind you, her phone is on the bar. Kane is calling her. So then Rico and his boys pull up outside, and Drew was like, hey, there go Rico and his boys. So then Drew was like, wait a minute, why they just sitting there? Monet said, get down. So they all, so they let the windows down, and boom, they just start spraying this shit. Kind of like what happened on Players Club when Dollar Bill shot up the Players Club. I mean, they just shot that motherfucker up. So they on the ground. I don't know why Drew, dumbass, decided to get up, said he gonna go get a piece. He said he gonna go get a piece and got up and boom, got shot. He got shot right here. It's like he ain't dead. But I'm like, why did he get up? I still don't understand why Drew got up. But he got up. So, they finished shooting up the place, took off, and then Kane showed up. And, Monet is still pissed off at Kane, but at this point, they need Kane to help him, get Drew some help. Now, they took Drew to the hospital. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, why y'all take him to the hospital? That's going to be a lot of questions. Because from what I know about people in the lifestyle, they have their own doctors and shit that they call so that the police don't ask them questions. Because the police are gonna ask questions. The police are gonna ask questions, but whatever. So we find out that Drew is in surgery. He's gonna be okay, and then Monet blames Kane, and Kane is like, "It ain't my fault." I'm like, "Nigga, yes, this is your fault. Like, you set this whole shit in motion." So Monet tells him, like, "Nigga, you need to run before I put you down my damn self." And I'm like, "Well, damn. He came out your cooch. I guess you say you came out my cooch, and I can take you. I brought you in this world, and I can take you out just as easily." So then we see Kane call somebody for help, and the person he called for help was Ramirez. So Kane wants Ramirez's help killing Tariq. I'm like, dude, you ain't learned your lesson yet. He really ain't learned his lesson, because Ramirez told him, "At this point, nigga, I ain't helping you." Well, I don't know why he told him that, because he killed Ramirez. I'm like, dude, you just being sloppy as fuck. God, Kane is so stupid. Kane is a hothead. I see. I understood it from the beginning why Monet was the way she was about Kane, but Kane cannot run the operation, because Kane is not the type he's not a rational thinker. Kane is a fly by the seat of his pants type of person. Kane is think first, ask questions later. But in this lifestyle, that's only thing that's gonna do in this lifestyle is get you killed. So I see why Monet is the way she is when it comes to Drew, and when it comes to Diana, and when it comes to Kane. Kane is literally just the muscle. Drew, the brains of the operation. I don't know what Diana is. I still haven't figured out what Diana's role in this family is. After 9 episodes, I still don't know Diana's role. But that is actually going to wrap it up. Next week is the season finale, you guys. This episode actually was a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. But you guys let me know what you guys think about the episode in the comment sections below. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification button so you guys are aware when I drop anything. And share this video. Also, you guys, stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Wear your mask and socially distance. And I've noticed that my channel has really grown in the last few weeks. So yeah, you guys, the channel is growing. I always look at my numbers. My numbers are getting better, my subscribed versus unsubscribed, but there are still a lot of you guys who watch my content and haven't subscribed. Like, I think it's like 60%. Like, go ahead, y'all. It's free. Hit that subscribe button. But I'll see you guys later on tonight for the Real Housewives of Potomac Reunion Part 3.